Good morning, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this new webinar of Apicbase, where we try and tackle some of the issues and ideas that are going around in the world of hospitality. And today, as I mentioned, we have Matthew Cox from Tech Easy with us. Matthew has been in the industry for 15 years already, working for a lot of big groups and especially focusing on IT in these groups. And recently he actually started his own business, Tech Easy, where he helps and consults businesses to streamline their IT department and their technology. And today, actually, we invited him to talk about AI, obviously, a very important topic at the top of mind in everybody's conversation. And of course, as Apicbase, we have a very strong and particular opinion about this. And of course, from a technology perspective and from a software perspective, we have a lot of ideas on how AI can be implemented in our own tools. And of course, we're doing that already. But today, I think it's very useful for Matthew to actually explain it from a, let's say, a user side, from a company perspective, where AI can go right and where it can go wrong, basically. But before we go there, for those who don't know Apicbase or who are touching on Apicbase for the first time, welcome. We are a business focusing on sustainable food service industry, trying to help our customers getting to zero waste and a healthier bottom line. And we do that very basically with a platform that is focusing on the back of house. It's actually, as we say, a world of solutions on one single platform. And basically, the way we kind of approach this is we start and we focus fully on the back of house, where menu development is central. And then basically, whatever you need to solve, whether or not it's procurement purchasing, it's inventory management, it's CPU, internal ordering, production planning, menu planning, and even tasks and HACCP management, health and safety, compliance. All of these things are actually part of our back of house solution. And obviously, as I already mentioned, AI is an important part of the future of Apicbase. And of course, we are implementing AI tools in a massive scale and in a very high tempo in our own solutions. Think of recipe importing, but also data enrichment and even data analysis, where AI can actually analyze data in a faster and more efficient way than basically humans can do this. And of course, that's why, for example, we've already invested quite some time in making sure that we have an MCP, which you can then connect to your Claude or your ChatGPT environment, so you can really tap into all of the knowledge, all of the data that you have within Apicbase. But as I said, it's not about Apicbase today. It's about how to implement and how to use AI as a strategic tool for hospitality. So basically, the word is for Matthew. I leave the floor to you, Matthew. And thank you very much all for joining, and enjoy the presentation.
Carl, and thank you for the introduction. It's a pleasure to be here today. You might be noticing I've got a British accent, living in Australia. I've been over here for 10 years. Absolutely love Australia as a place, and the people are great, and the hospitality world is electric, and that's what I love about what I do in a business. Yeah, we'll go into the slides. So we'll start with the first slide. So we'll go. First of all, I want to talk a bit about a stack, what your team can use. You've got these great companies, including Apicbase, who are absolutely amazing what they do. what we wanted to do at Tech Easy is really understand how we can guarantee a good experience for clients and customers. So it was all the focus on how can we reduce time on systems and processes to be able to give them time to provide the best experience in a venue. I actually ran this past the general manager of a business here in Sydney today to get his thoughts. So I've included a couple of live bit of feedback from on the ground and what people think of what we're trying to achieve at Tech Easy. So we'll go into the next slide now. I will go over here. Okay, a little bit about Tech Easy. We started off a year ago, only a year old, so we were only new. But my experience is mainly in hospitality world, and I've worked with some great people, great entrepreneurial CEOs in the previous role. But I've taken ideas of how I was there and how I needed support from my end, because we're so reactive in the IT world as a IT manager that we don't have time to actually, have the ability to study and work out how we're going to improve our services and stuff. So that's why I thought, you know what, Tech Easy sounds like a decent name, and it allows us to work with partners and also be part of the team. It was really important for me to be not seen as an external resource, but to be part of the team and ask the questions and help and guide. So a few things we've done in the past over the last few months. We've done IT roadmaps for growth and innovation, and really targeting SLT teams to really understand what they want to try and do and how are we going to do it and how we're going to get there, and make sure the return on investment is there for the business. There's no point starting a project if you can't finish it, and you've got to make sure you're aligned with what you're doing. So we're really hard on planning, and then looking at the solutions of what's out there, looking at inventory management, and I've looked at Apicbase quite a few times for some customers, and we've got a couple coming on board. It's a great product, but I would say in that vendor world, it's really important the people you match with are on the same journey as you. Like ask what their roadmaps are like, and that's what we've been doing at Tech Easy. We also do IT support and management, so we look after infrastructure. We can help out with projects like AI and how you're going to roll that into a business, managing people and time and training as well, which is really important. Empowering people to be able to use the system is really cool. And in the AI world, we've done some really cool stuff with voice, with PABX systems, which is the phone systems, and having the ability to be able to get a customer to call a venue and get everything they need in terms of a script without having to go through to a venue outside hours. So lots of different things there, but all in one solution really. And yeah, really enjoying the time and having to be able to work with great people and great businesses. So what we'll cover today. So we've got 4 points. We've got the foundation problem, and we'll go into more detail what that looks like shortly. The governance of AI and how I feel from my experience is how it works well and how you stay protected and how you can get the best out of AI and have the team working together. And then I like this one, AI as a tool of thought for thought. So it's not telling people what to do. It's giving them advice on how to do things and what's the best way of doing it. And we had some great conversations today, which I'll touch on shortly with the venue manager downstairs of how we can do that. And then the bigger picture, how from operations to guest experience, and how to make that improve and be the best you can be to get the full big picture and have the data to be able to make decisions. So we'll go into the first point. So the foundation problem, and I know everyone's probably been here. I've seen it and I'm still seeing it now. People have got spreadsheets all over, which are great. And they do the job, but if anyone makes a mistake or if anyone's entering information incorrect, that can skew all your data in terms of what you're looking at in a dashboard point of view. And if you have an agent over the top and you're asking it questions, it's going to give you false information because the data is not correct. And that's where companies come in, like Apicbase, just as an example. And labor systems like Deputy and Panda, where they can allow you the ability to be able to put that information in, have it in a clean spot and a clean tech environment as a stack. Well, here's a quote I got from someone today downstairs. I spent hours updating spreadsheets. If I don't make the changes, the data entered can be inconsistent. I think that's a good one to start with, just with an example. A lot of people, I'm known for it as well. You want to do everything yourself because you do it to your best of your ability. But some other team members want to do it as well, but they need the training to be able to do it. So the trust is not there sometimes in the data when it's just a spreadsheet, because people can make mistakes. We're only human after all. And it's important that you have a system and to allow you to not have that problem, basically. So problem number one, data lives in silos. And this little diagram here, and I've seen this when talking to people recently, that they've got all these different departments: finance, operations, HR, marketing, and everyone has data flows and systems what they want themselves and use their own tools without the ability to have an overall shared. And the fragmentation of the systems are there, basically. I've seen also, obviously, there's no source of truth. So everyone's got different versions, especially on like old technology, and no one can agree on the numbers, because once you start having incorrect information in your dashboard or agent to help you with that information, they question the system and the way it's been implemented. And it causes a false sense of, well, it doesn't really work. But that all comes down to what systems you've got in place. We'll touch a little bit about that shortly. Cross-team friction. So collaboration breaks down and reporting becomes a bit of a guessing work. We've seen that a few times in Sydney this week, where we've had people looking at systems, for example, labour, and not be able to have the data to make decisions on the go. And it is a bit of a guessing game. Well, it's going to be a big night tonight here in Sydney. What events are around the area? How can we pull that data in? And this is what we'll talk about in later stages on the slides. Duplicate effort. This is a real good one. So the same data re-entered everywhere, and time wasting and creating errors. I've seen a couple of groups where they've got different SharePoint pages, and everyone's entering information there, and then they're extracting it onto basic dashboards. Trying to alleviate that and get rid of that kind of way is a good way of looking at it. Like, let's try and work out, as I'd be asking people, if you are part of the IT team, to go into your SLT meeting and working out where the data is held and how you can present it in a way that it's going to work for everybody, and the cross team becomes everyone together as one part of a business. Other quotes. This is one from someone on Tuesday, which is a good one. Other members of the business require data to be shown in different ways, and this is, so people in like the F&B world, or we've got a hotel here with the room service upstairs. They need data differently in different ways, and we'll touch on how we can do that when we make decisions. So decisions made on, this is problem number two. Decisions made on stale data. A big thing I've seen in the last few weeks, especially in like high-end restaurants, is they've not really got the reporting live, and that is a key method. But also not just having a dashboard where people can pull information. Some people don't like dashboards and seeing data. Your finance people will love it, but some people in venues want a quick answer and a quick decision. And that's where we've kind of implemented AI, so we can record, they can use the phone or they can use a headpiece, ask questions, and that will look at their data in terms of labor or inventory or sales, and then give them information and advice on how to do it. And also with reporting as well, some people pull snapshots which are weeks old and even months. There's businesses out there who do it incredibly well, and there's a couple of partners of Apicbase who do it well, where they'll look at different areas of the day, of the week, and even month, and year on year, and be able to allow the AI system to be able to pull up through and get the information as they require it on the spot. But what it does as well, though, with the outdated reports, it gives people, it unfortunately allows like missed targets and waste which is not required. So it's really important that people are speaking the same language and they are using the right systems on that side of it. Missed opportunities, they've not got the tools around them with the spreadsheets and how it goes to be able to make the decisions live on the go. Reactive strategy is another really good point. Missed targets at cost. The amount of time I've heard like a CEO or someone outside in like that kind of top level operations is, why have you done this? Why have you done that? If you give the people the tools to be able to do it in terms of their data, then they can make decisions. How cool would it be if you're a general manager and you come into the day in the morning and everything's all ready for you to start the day well? You've got a nice little report there, or a dashboard, or anything in terms of that information to be able to make decisions before you even walk in the door. And we've done a few projects where we built emails which come through in the morning and pulling from reports, and on an app as well, on an app where it's giving them information when they come in to tell them what they're looking at, but what was the big topic of conversation from last night? How was the sales last night? How was the labor last night? What do we need to order the next day? And it's really a great way of giving the people the tools so they can make them key decisions. Low data confidence. As we mentioned before, you want to take the guessing work away and give them systems and a roadmap and stack around it so that they don't need to guess. The worst thing you want to do is, what's it going to be like tonight? And, put your finger in the air and feel the wind. You want the data around you, and partnering with the right vendors is really important from that side of it. That's problem number 2. Problem number 3, manage hours wasted. The general manager downstairs today on this one, we talked about what you do in the day-to-day. I sat down with him for a little bit and asked him, what is your amount of time you spend in a week on pulling information through and chasing information and reconciling? And it was unbelievable the amount of time he does spend. He spends on average 2 to 3 hours a day in trying to get that information, what he needs to provide to that top level for the group heads. So we've kind of mapped that out now here today, and how we can map that workflow and build a system around it to be able to give him the information he requires as an operator, but also for my brain to be ready to give the information to the top level to give them the data they require as well. And that was a good part of today. Managers spend hours chasing down the information. That takes them away from the floor. And I'll always put it back on the people. I think businesses what will thrive in the future are the people who've got great customer service and great guest experience, and giving them time using AI and all the information with the data being clean is really important, because it gives them time to be able to spend with the team and train them and really understand how it goes. And this high operational cost, it is quite invisible, this one, in certain ways. It is a drainer in terms of an organization when people are doing all this work and they're wasting their time. They feel like they've not got a purpose sometimes as well. And they want to advance their careers and growth, but giving them the tool to be able to do that. Burnout risk. This one here, repetitive low value admin compounds. We sat down with a business recently and spoke about how can we improve your life and your ability to have a good career. And it was all around, I love AI, and I love looking at the systems and where we can do things better, but not having the time to be able to map that out. So it's really important, if you're doing it, and this is how we do it at Tech Easy, you map out all that time taken on different projects and different tasks, what people do, and then look at which ones are a more priority and which ones are burning people to not really enjoy coming into work. Like, there's nothing worse than having a job where you don't enjoy it. And I think giving people the tools and systems to make their life easier is probably one of the nicest things you can do as an IT professional. Another example here, I've just called it Bob Smith. It's a random person, this one. But a chef, imagine you're a chef of a business or a manager where you're chasing down information end of the day. I think late at night, you're always hard. It's always 7 o'clock here today, but if it was 10 o'clock, there's no way I could do this presentation. But 10 o'clock at night, you're chasing down data from people. Hey, how are you doing with this? How much did we sell in this product today? What do we need to order for stock tomorrow? This is something we've seen quite a lot of, and you want them really to just concentrate on the day, finish the service, and have everything ready for them next day. And that's what the dream is, especially in Tech Easy, using the systems what we're putting in, and using the right vendors to be able to allow us to do it. So yeah, the thing what I've got from this one is, yeah, it happens a lot, and I think people staying late after hours is not the best for anybody. To have that work-life balance, and that's something at Tech Easy we look at solid to be able to help out. Problem number 4, onboarding knowledge problems. So I think when people look at data and how they're doing things in systems, they lose that when the manager comes on, because the knowledge goes, if someone goes on sick or in hospitality, the turnover is quite high. So it's really important you build systems to allow an easy and smooth transition if someone comes over, and the knowledge lives in the people and not just in the systems. The systems are important, but it's really important that the people come on board, have the tools to be able to onboard quickly, and have the data around them to make decisions. And that's something which we'll touch on shortly. New managers spend months figuring out where data lives, and that is a real important point. You know, if you've started off and you've got spreadsheets here and you've got spreadsheets here and SharePoint pages here, a link to got into a system and a vendor where you can't access the information unless you go into it, that's where it really just slow them down, and it's not really fair for them to be able to have to do that and start off in a real, good way when you're trying to impress. So I think that's probably a key one, is for the mapping out of working out from a training perspective in a learning management system, is how you can document that and then give them the most successful part you can to make them successful. A system with the learning side, and also the systems and vendors around them to make the decisions. What it does, though, it obviously slows down their impact, and creates ongoing, ongoing issues. And you don't want to blame game around systems. You want to give them the best. When you are mapping out that roadmap and you're highlighting what that risk is, and you're sitting down with the SLT team, you can really map out what's right first. Teams rely on specific people who might leave. I've seen this quite a bit, where you've got someone who's really important in a tech world, but also operationally. I think tech and operations work hand in hand. And if I was ever doing a project, and the most advice I can give you is always build champions around when you do implement systems around a technical aspect, but also an operational brain. And if they both agree on a way of doing things, normally they're right. And I've seen it where they can clash heads sometimes, but in a real positive way, and challenge each other when you are looking at that is a really important part to look at. Repeated mistakes without documenting the content, the same error keeps occurring. I think with if you are using AI in a business, it's really important it doesn't become stale, and that you are checking to work out how you can do better ways of doing things. But onboarding, for me, you want to give them the best success you can, and that's where problem number 4 comes into. The next slide is a basic diagram here. This is just one we built for today. We're very lucky to partner with Apicbase, and they're a great company. to work with. From an inventory management system, for me, that was one which I had tick, which was great. Labor system, there's plenty out there when you're looking at it. Again, when you are talking to these vendors, as I just mentioned before, ask about what their roadmap is. Tell them what you'd like to see in the future, and really hold them accountable around what you're trying to achieve. So labor, inventory, POS is really the key ones for hospitality. But you can also plug in, the phone system AI into there. You can plug in guest experience into there, operational systems into there. All of that different systems, you want to be able to have it hosted in one spot. So one project, what we're doing at the moment is looking at the AWS world and using that VPC to be able to use the agents around it, using the systems, what's on the screen now. One of them, the POS, which is being reviewed currently, but using light sale is the one that we've been looking at currently, which is quite cool. When you do look at AI, it's important that you look at how you're going to host it and make sure you have that single source of truth. I think when you say AWS out the world and a logo, there's a bit more trust in there. So have a look at light sale VPS, and I'm happy to share this with you guys if you want any information. When you are looking at, make sure you look at rows which are appropriate to the access. You want to make sure that you're giving the people all the tools. Very easy to say, we'll give everyone everything because they can use it, and they can see everything they require. But for me, it's really important you slim it down as much as possible and only give them the information they require. And then you can always bump them up in the roles if they require a bit more information. Really important when you're building your workflows that you shape it around how your team works. The one thing I did with a previous company is really map out what was the headaches, what was the core bottlenecks in a business, and then built the workflows around it. And we had an agreement from an SLT team that this was the priority for now, and this is what we want to focus on. And then what was the next part on the roadmap, and then keep working your way through it. But work off the workflows which are pain points in the business. What are the biggest ones is one of my recommendations when you're talking to people. So yeah, look into how that looks. The roles appropriate access, everyone wants to see differently. But also the important thing is that they can see it on what device you're using in real time. I think we touched on before, not everybody wants to look at dashboards and look at ways of doing things. So make sure it's easy accessible on their own devices, which are governance by the business. So if you're providing iPhones or Android devices or laptops or iPads, make sure that it's appropriate for the device and make sure it works in real time. And then the most important thing is, make it enjoyable. I think when you're looking at AI, the security is probably one of the biggest things people look at and get concerned, but there's ways of doing that and make it fun. I've not done this yet, but I would love to do it with a business, is have a fun workshop where you've built an environment where the team can have a go at AI and have a look at it in a real safe way. And I have got a document on that if anyone wants to look at it. Building a really secure environment where they can go and build apps and do things, and then can come back a week later and sit down as a group and be like, well, that's actually a really good idea. Why haven't I thought of that? Let's actually implement that internally as a process. So that's a real good way of making it fun. Like, don't be scared of AI as long as it's set up correctly. And you do it from the start and you've got good data. It's really fun. It's a good place to be. Governance. We'll go into a few points on this one. I think it's really important when you're looking at AI that you have a policy in place. And there's no right or wrong for everybody. I think everyone's different in the way they want to display this, but it's important that you are telling the staff how to do AI, when to use it, when not to use it, and also from a guest side as well. If you're using AI, it's important. For example, we've set up a phone system for a group over here. They have an AI agent who answers, and it tells the person on the phone, "Hello, I'm an AI agent," but in a really natural way, not as a robot. And people have fun with it, and they ask questions, and they actually really enjoy the experience. And just this week on that AI thing, we made like 5 bookings in the last few days where it's not even touched the venue. So it's really make but the customer needs to know that the AI is being used, and that's why we put that at the beginning of the message. So AI policy and practice, questions to understand before you start. So what data can the AI access, and who's approved it? So I think the biggest thing really when you're doing data governance and stuff, I'm not, there's people who look at this from a real top level. But my advice is you maintain with a data governance or an IT professional in the business or external who works alongside the senior leadership team to make sure it's monitored, maintained, and a quarterly review is really important. So if they have given access to, say, a certain point, it's been approved by the operational business, we can revisit it and see what is working, what's not working, what's been signed off, and get a formal sign off across the business. Who's accountable when AI is recommended and wrong? I think the accountability on this one is really is a key point. And you don't want to go into a business where if you do bring an AI person and it's all on them, that's not fair. Let's share that importance of being accountable with all the team. So it's important that all department heads, in my opinion, have an oversight of what functions their team are looking at and what AI is doing and operating. And that and also the biggest one is having the team to be trained up to make a decision if they do decide to override an idea of AI is done, and let them do that as well, because they're human. That's what they're there for, to provide the best experience. And so it can be overridden by that as well. How do you handle guest data privacy? That's another question I get asked quite a lot. So obviously data's used in AI systems and is limited to what guests can consent to. But we've spoke a bit about it in the last few weeks. I think it's important that we do tell guests or customers that we are using it, so they're aware, and that can be either on a policy or on the website, and give them information that we're doing it to help improve what we're doing in our experience in the venue. It's really, really a good part of it. What's the process for overriding AI decision? We talked a bit about this before, and I'll bring the hospitality world back into the picture here. That it's important that when people do use AI and they do override what the decision's been made, for example, AI might come back and say, "Hey, you need to reduce your labor tonight because the sales are down." But the human might know that there's something around the area which is going to happen. The football games finish at 10 o'clock, but we haven't plugged in the information for events around the area and weather, and that's okay. I mean, that's important that it's the staff are allowed to override what the decisions are made and what's been put forward, so they can make their own judgment. We don't want to get into a world where no one can make any decisions as humans. It's got to be what's right for them and what's right for the guests inside the venue and what's coming through. I think as well as on that point though, it's really important that you are writing that down in terms of what they look like and giving that back to your AI specialist, because they can improve the system with a judgment. Like I just mentioned, maybe they've not thought about plugging the weather into it or what events around the area. And if the AI specialist or governance person doesn't know, then they're not going to be able to do it. So it's really important that they do that. And I also said, no employee should face negative consequences for overriding what that system says. I think it's good to still give the people the ability to learn and grow as team members and make decisions. Back onto the the learning side of things. How do you communicate AI using staff and guests? So for staff, it's really important that the onboarding is done right and that it's all structured. They're given what the limitations are, what to feed the information if they're using different AI tools, and update what that roadmap looks like before rolling out. In terms of guests and stuff and people or your customers, I think it's good that you obviously disclose that in plain language, because not everybody's a techie person. It's really important that we disclose what that looks like, but it's making sure that we're providing what the best service is. AI is a tool of thought. This was a good one, which I got a few ideas off a few people in Sydney and Melbourne actually last week. So I think a lot of people see this, and there's a few misconceptions about AI, and we'll go into a couple of them shortly. But for me, I don't think people should see it as a replacement for a headcount. I think it should be known as a tool for people to make decisions, and that is one of the biggest things which I'm hearing across Australia, and also back at home in England as well, talking to a couple of IT professionals back at home as well. But here we go. Here's the four, which there's plenty here. There's probably about 20, 30 points, but I've gone for the top four. It replaces a role. Number one, I get that quite a lot. It makes decisions for you. Yeah, it does. But how do we communicate that back to the people when you get asked that question? People have said set and forget it, and we'll touch a bit on that one. And the ROI is a headcount saving. So we'll go through which ones they look like and how I would go back to that person on these kind of questions. So it replaces a role. For me, when people say that, I think it changes what the role is and spends time on. It frees the people up to feel valued and to feel like they're making a real difference. And also concentrating on the guest facing, making sure that work is number one. As mentioned, the venue downstairs today, which I'm going to go down and have dinner later, they're very big on the guest facing. It's a high dining restaurant, and we are implementing these tools to be able to help them to make key decisions and free them up so they can concentrate on that service as number one and get people coming back, repeating the business. It makes decisions for you. Going back on this one, it surface patterns you might miss, and it also makes better informed decisions. Not always right, and I think that's why I said before it's always important the human kind of aspect has the final decision as you're building this up and you're making sure the system's working. But it does, on multiple occasions, it does give you information which you might have missed. It's important that you document all that and make the decisions and use it for your best of your ability. But document the patterns of what come and how that looks and how it be, and pass that back to your AI specialists. Set it and forget it. That one, going back to that one, I'd be like, it improves the more you engage with it. I've seen failed rollouts where they've implemented AI across the business. They've kind of left it there and it's gone a bit stagnant. The person's moved on and they've not had a good handover. And then that's where it's actually failed. So it's really important that you do improve it and that everyone's part of the project. So when you're implementing things with different, avenues of AI, like a weekly email goes out to the team internally and tells them what we've changed, where the feedback's come from, to make the person who's given the feedback to the team is part of that growth plan and that picture that we've listened to them as a team member. The ROI is a headcounting saving. I think this is probably one of the biggest ones. It's similar to replacing a role, but the ROI, the return on investment, is the quality of decisions and the guest experience, and how you map that out is really important. And what that cost of putting the system in or AI process is part of the decision when you're going to like an SLT team and working out how to sell and say what you've done has been successful. It's really important you map that out. So what value looks like for people, every role's different, as we touched on before, but general managers, want things differently. You know, finance managers love the numbers and love them dashboards and love being able to go in and, you know, and manipulate stuff and have a look at what the trends are. F&B operators as well, and housekeeping. So I've just given you 4 different things there, different aspects of a business. What we've done at Tech Easy, we've helped map out workshops. So we've had a few workshops which have been really successful. We've part of the SLT team, this leadership team. We've understood what the aim is of the project and how AI can work. We've mapped out what the return on investment looks like and what key roles are required to make it a success. I think if you're an external person and you're bringing it in, it's important that you've got that key champion in the business, or 2 people in the business I mentioned before, to help you drive it to make it a success. And using the people in the venues or in different areas of the business to listen to them and get their feedback and make everybody part of it. That's the keys. Bringing everybody on the journey is one of the biggest things what I really like. And I've also been there as an IT person. You know, I've had to just work on reactive work all the time in terms of hospitality. So sometimes it's nice to get a bit of extra help, and that's where Tech Easy come in myself. And we sat with the IT manager or head of IT, and we've mapped that out and worked out what's next. And it's still their project. It's important that they're still part of the project. It's not coming in to take over. It's for the person to be part of the team. Understanding what the bottlenecks are before you go into the value for all the teams is really important, and mapping that out. But when you are doing it, map out it as a collective. So make sure the general manager's happy, the finances manager's happy, the F&B operator's happy, the housekeeping manager's happy, and making sure that they're all aligned. In terms of the GM, you know, they might want AI to be helping them prep for a morning briefing. And that's where you look at the value on it and you work out, is that the most important part for the start of the project? Is it the finance side, looking at the PLs and looking at staffing? But it's really important that you map that out to its full ability. Finance manager, I think when you're looking at a finance manager, they want to use AI to stress like pricing. How cool would it be if you can sharpen up like judgments and making models around it to make decisions using AI as a finance manager? You've got that ability to be able to do it and look at live pricing and signals and booking pace and stuff like that. That's all the stuff we've looked at in the past, and no manual report chasing. I've seen it so many times where, you know, a CFO is chasing people for information, and it should be at the tip of their finger. They should be able to pull it whenever they require it. F&B operator, this comes into, you know, with Apicbase as well, you know, using a really good system where you can look at menu performance and then push that through into your environment, and how you look at that is really good. From a labor stochastic perspective as well, you can do that as well. And that's what an F&B operator really requires. Allows them to spot like wastage trends on the PL and make decisions on the spot and make it proactive. Housekeeping, you know, they might be looking at AI, for example, to make it smooth. In this hotel now, they've got systems in where it's looking at, you know, have lights been left on in the venue and pinging back and letting people know and auto shutting down. They've got some good operational checklists, what they have as well, where they've got recommendations to what to do, and then they're using the data they've got to their full advantage from an operational aspect, and making sure rooms are ready and the quality's there, so that when guests come back, they've got a really, really positive experience. The bigger picture, this one for me, there's 2 slides on this one. It's looking at the picture of what AI can handle. Gave you a few examples just as we've gone along, and then I'll give you the examples of what that does if AI is being used and how people can do it and use it. So AI handles, you know, it can handle the nightly reporting. How cool would it be in the morning to wake up as a, you know, an owner of a hospitality group where you've got all your venues there and you've got all the reporting you require, and it's all accurate, and you know it's good, and that you can make key decisions. AI can also handle the scheduling and optimization of shifts. And there's some labor systems which I've worked on in the past, and I've got some really good recommendations there. Do that really, really well. And onto the inventory side, there's some great businesses out there who do that really well and send alerts and also procurement flags if, like, for example, products are out of stock or a value's gone high, or they're running out of lamb, for example, in a venue. How them alerts can come through. With another business we've just done as well, we've just looked at POS, and we've looked at a POS solution where they will grow with us to be able to get information out of the system in terms of sales and what they've sold, and give them recommendations of predictive ordering, which has been really a good project to look into. AI also excels on routine guest communication and drafts. We've done one project recently for a nightclub where we've been looking at agents to look at socials, look at ways of being able to bring people into a venue, and also upload pictures and stuff to live systems and stuff. Imagine you're in a nightclub and you can upload live, when people send information through on Instagram and stuff. Like, there's ways you can do that really well in that kind of bringing people in on that experience. AI excels when people have the tools around them. So imagine you've got your morning brief ready to go. How good's that if you're a manager and you walk in and you don't need to look at a spreadsheet and you've got the information there? We touched on it before, giving people time back to be able to coach and not be playing around, with systems and giving them data around it. Leaders, you can have time to invest in the team rather than having a spreadsheet, for example, and being puzzled where to start off. That's another one there. Productive supplier relations. The head chef of a group I've just been looking at really wanted to have information at the tip of the finger, where he could look at suppliers and look at what's not been delivered and how it's come in, the wastage, what's coming, what's not the right order and product coming through, and the quality. So we built a system out where he can look at that and have real good insights for himself. Personalized guest moments and ability to build out loyalty. I think this one it all comes down to that guest, giving the front of house energy to be able to perform. So if you're using AI, it gives your people on the ground more time and being in a good frame of mind to make decisions. I think looking at the big picture, how cool would it be, if a general manager had a little earpiece in and he could have decisions on the go using systems and data, and headcounts of people coming in, understanding if there's been a review on a system, and we want to speak to that guest straight away. How cool would it be if a team could ring them and offer them to come back in for an experience with them leaving 10 minutes from the door? These are all little things you can think about. But I think that's where I think the future will go. People will succeed if they've got the tools around them and using AI to its advantage to get the best value. This is another example. I think I keep going back to different examples, but this is a venue manager. It's important, a venue manager can identify a task. Give you an example, it's 4 o'clock on, AI could help where it's 4 o'clock on a Tuesday. The bookings are light, walk-ins are tracking at 40%, and it's a Tuesday. Imagine if they've got a tool where they can use it and it can read out, whether tonight justifies the full casual roster. It might give suggestions to let casuals to go home, or it might allow them to bring more people on because there's an event around the corner. It's good for that side of it in terms of identifying the task. Craft the prompt. This is one which we got from a gentleman downstairs today. He'd love the ability to ask AI to compare different, different systems in terms of covers, what the booking pace is against the last 8 Tuesdays, and suggest like labour for him, not to tell him what to do again, but give the AI, as a thought and an opinion of what he could do, and make a decision for himself. So that's one from today. Generate and review. AI can also recommend, like I mentioned before, releasing to casuals if they start the service. And they could basically give them advice of, you've got one casual coming in at 2 o'clock, why don't you bring them at 3 o'clock? Or why don't you overlap at 2 o'clock and do a handover to keep the costs down? It could also, help out with kitchen prep, and give team managers the data around them to be able to make decisions before they come in. How much they need to prep, what's the priorities for the night, and use that to its advantage. Monitor outcomes, tracking, actuals versus forecast. There's lots of great people who do this out in the world, in the vendor world. And if anyone wants any advice of what can go to, reach out, over the next few weeks. But yeah, tracking actual covers and forecasts throughout the night's really good. Would be good to have like the ability to be adding notes in and understand when AI was right and when it was wrong. I think it's good that you have a system where you've got your decisions coming in, but you can also have the human explain when things weren't right and pass back to the team, to the head office team or the IT governance person or specialist to adjust and tweak and work out how that looks. Mentioned before about the roles, like what I think play. I think you need a specialist within even external or internal to have a level of understanding of AI and how it works, and make sure that you are getting value for that. The HQ operations person is really good. And again, I mentioned before, it's good to have two brains from an operational aspect and an IT aspect. And obviously, there's two heads are always better than one. So, from an IT aspect, I might not be thinking as a HQ person or an operational person, but it's important that you have a real team who are engaged when you're running an IT project, an AI project or any IT project. You've got two people who are going to make decisions and be able to pass the information down in a system and process which works. Or audit output. I've made a few notes here. It's good that it's the system for AI is making recommendations against live stuff. Example of that would be, say, a live reservation system. It's looking at events and it's looking at what's coming through and giving advice on what to do next, and making sure there's no gaps in labour or there's no gaps in what food we've ordered. There's no gaps on the social side of things. It's good that you can look at that as part of your overall big structure. Approval, revisit and reject. This is a good one. I think I mentioned before that it's the job of an AI specialist and HQ person is that there is a flow for that. That when you do approve a feature or process or workflow, that you're looking at it how you can improve it, and that if you do reject it for any reason, you give the user of the team member, the workforce team, the reasoning behind it. There'd be nothing worse than being, a venue manager having this idea of AI, or just being told no. You need to give the reasoning behind that, and make sure that the decision's documented within that reason. Another big part of that AI, governance person is to control the deploy, to control how you do it. And I've got documentation on this if anyone wants to see it, of how I think it's good to be able to control that deploy. And last but not least, definitely learn and improve. The monthly review, don't let it just be part of a project which was, and then it's just been left behind. Make sure that you are holding monthly reviews. You've got forms to build feedback through, so that you're collecting all that data, no matter who it is in the team, and that you sit down with the group of people you're working with, or your business, and going through what the priorities are from it. So Yeah, they're the key ones for me. Is having the right people around you, and it doesn't need to be just internal. There's great tools out there to be able to do it, but having a safe way of using AI is a real key point. And that takes us on to our last slide, Carl. Hope that's okay. I'm sure there's lots of questions and stuff, and I've gone a bit all over a few different angles, but I wanted to really give the team what I'm hearing in the hospitality world and what them key parts are, and then people can use that feedback and hopefully use it in their world.
Thank you very much, Matt. That was a very interesting approach towards AI, and definitely some great insights, especially on the governance part and making sure that, you know, from what I kind of take away is, you know, you need to learn. And you need to improve, let's say, and let people make mistakes. I thought that was a very interesting one. We do it ourselves actually also from in Apicbase. Obviously, we have these internal AI sessions where we learn people how to work with AI, but then obviously we also have to improve on how to use AI and not rely entirely on AI. That's definitely something today. I see that we are very close to the hour, so we've gone a bit over time. I didn't want to interrupt you, and I think I wanted to let you do your story, but in this case, we will not be taking any questions, just to keep within the hour. Obviously, if you have any questions, you can just still drop them in the Q&A, and then we will take them offline and answer them and leave them to Matt so that he can pick that up with you in person as well. For now, Matthew, thank you very much for this. For this insightful webinar. Also to the audience, thank you very much for staying with us and for tuning in once more in one of our thought leadership webinars. And next time we will be having another webinar on the product of Apicbase, and that will be end of June. So we're looking forward to welcoming you again then, and you will get more details later on in the month or early June. So again, Matthew, thank you very much. And
thank you, Carl. Thank you so much.
See you next time.